personally responsible including for the negligence of the service provider. And I unreservedly apologize for it.
Professor Ishaq Oloyede fought back tears while admitting a technical error compromised the 2025 UTME results of 379,000 plus candidates. Welcome to the program Beyond the Headlines. And beyond the emotions, there are big questions as to what does this mean for nearly 400,000 students whose futures hang in the balance? And can JAMB actually prevent this from ever happening again? Let's break it down for you. JAMB acknowledges 157 out of 887 exam centers were affected. Of 1.94 million candidates, we understand that 75% scored below 200, while only 0.63% actually scored above 300. Now, the affected students must retake the exam between tomorrow, Friday, May 16, to Monday, 19th May 2025. But is this enough? Is the notice enough? As we hear, some students have started their WAEC examinations. It seems JAMB's apology and planned UTME receipt for the affected candidates isn't enough. One of the guests on the show today is Ivan Sofile, who is suing the examination body on behalf of aggrieved candidates for 10 billion naira. Also joining me is Professor Boniface Onwogo, and measurement specialist with Educational Research Network. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on the program this evening. Let's begin with Professor Onwogo. When an exam body like JAMB admits a technical error of this magnitude, what exactly goes wrong behind the scenes? Because the registrar says it's not a software glitch, but a technical error on the part of one of its agencies.
Thank you for having me here to begin with. My institutional affiliation is University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I'm a fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Education, a member of the Association for Assessment in Africa, a member of the International Association for Educational Assessment, and so on and so forth. Yeah, what happened, which the registrar of JAMB admitted, I must say, was very unfortunate, but it is a usual thing. It is not something that one does not expect to happen in large-scale testing programs that deploy technology. My understanding of the whole thing is that there was a technical glitch arising from human negligence. The systems were supposedly okay, but there was an upgrade that somebody was supposed to implement. And because the staff of this tech company, that is a service provider, who were charged with that responsibility, were not diligent, and I want to underscore that word, diligence, were not diligent enough to apply that patch, that's the program upgrade, across all the affected servers. They did a haphazard job So, and that resulted in this problem, which has thrown every person into this kind of dilemma.
Indeed. Absolutely, Prof. Let me bring in Mr. Ofili. You are asking the court to declare JAMB's actions and omissions a gross violation of the candidate's fundamental rights. Tell us more about this lawsuit and those joined in the case.
Yeah, this action was brought forth because when this news broke out, we took our time to find out what could have been the possible glitch that may have happened in the course of time. We looked at the last year's result, we looked at the results before last year, and 5 years down the line. And we came up with the argument that something wrong must have happened. But the DG of JAMB, his earlier response was that nothing went wrong, that is the true state of the intellectual prowess and capacity of the student who undertook the exam. And we said, no, this is not true. We issued a notice then threatening to go to court. Why there was public outcry and a lot of issues were coming out from all different directions, they now decided yesterday to go and review the results. So just a quick review, not up to 3 hours, they discovered this revelation that truly something went wrong. And we are saying that these students, the objective of JAMB by law is to prepare students for tertiary institution, to test their ability to access tertiary education. And the last exam, JAMB didn't do that. What they did was to test students' ability to handle chaos, disorganization, disorientation, and all manner of chaotic environment created in the course of the exam. First, they were asked to come by 6 a.m. The ones who went there by 7, some centers, the exam didn't start until 2 p.m. and all that. And this is supposed to test their academic preparedness and their ability to access tertiary education and nothing more. But the test they got was stressful. Some of them even had to go missing. Some of them who wrote the exams, the result was not given, they said they are underage. You allow them to register for an exam, they wrote the exam, spend time, spend money, spend resources to locate the exam centers, and after the exam, you say they are underage, and they have no result. So when we look at it, we started reviewing the laws. The Child Rights Act says that no child shall be discriminated against. When you look at the Child Rights Act also, the students in question, they have a right to education. So it is these fundamental rights of the children that we are advocating for. And we're saying that their rights have been grossly violated. These are young, impressionable children. Education is the ornament of prosperity and refuge in adversity. Education is a social imperative. And these children must not be thrown into such kind of situation. They should not be disappointed by their country, at least not at this age. So all we went through at our time, we are saying that this must be corrected. Those who wrote this JAMB are the Alpha generation, very brilliant children who have serious intellectual capacity to have handled some of these exams. And we look at some of the students who wrote exams last year, had 266, 265, 270. They wrote this year and some of them had 155. And the rest of that, I'll just say something went wrong. And that we now say that our prayers is that before the court, first, JAMB to set aside this exam, set aside the result and conduct a fresh one. JAMB cannot say does not have the resources to do so because they keep declaring billions for the federal government. But we they give to politicians to go and embezzle and build houses and do all that. So the simplest thing they could have done that yesterday is to say that the entire exam for 2025 is hereby set aside and a fresh one be conducted. In that case, we need not be going to court.
All right, Mr. Ofili, allow me to jump in quickly. I want to know who the defendants are on this case. Even though you've made a huge allegation, I hope they don't sue you for defamation because you probably have to prove if JAMB has given all its revenue to politicians to steal. But who are the defendants in this case? Who really are you suing?
The defendant is JAMB and the Ministry of Education.
Some have commended Professor Oloyede for what they termed a rare admittance of fault by any public official. That it's rare to say that in Nigeria. Are you saying Professor Oloyede's emotional apology isn't enough for Nigerians at this time?
Well, it's not enough because while the apology is accepted, they must ameliorate the condition this has caused, the outcome it has. Do you know that why he admitted that and he wept? Do you know that somebody committed suicide in the course of this? So what happened to the parents and the siblings of the girl who committed suicide in Ikorodu as a result of the outcome of this exam?
Hold that thought for a minute, Mr. Ofili. Let me get Professor's opinion on this. Yes, Prof, please go ahead.
Can I quickly correct a point he made here, which is not actually accurate? He said that the review was for 3 hours and all that. That is not correct at all, because the review, I was part of the review team and other eminent scholars and then stakeholders. The review commenced on Monday, and the whole of Monday, the whole of Tuesday, up to the press time on Wednesday, we were busy examining the data relating to the 2025 UTME examination. And then let me also say this, that every organization has his own procedures for doing things. The post-examination review for JAMB usually takes place under normal circumstances, a month or two after the examination. So it was because of the public outcry, JAMB's responsiveness to this social issue that led to the quick review of. Otherwise, that review should have happened. It shouldn't have happened now. So it is not right to credit JAMB with being responsive.
All right.
To the public outcry. JAMB was really responsive.
Prof.
That was why the review of the exam results was undertaken immediately.
Professor, please just
for the normal period.
hold that thought for a minute. I would like to follow up on some of the submissions you have made, but that'll be right after this break. Okay. Stay with us, everyone. Professor Wago, Mr. Ofili, thank you for staying the course on the program. Prof, you heard the lawyer say that the JAMB's registrar apology isn't enough. Do you agree to the point that perhaps JAMB has to compensate financially for the emotional trauma? We're hearing reports of someone committing suicide. We have not been able to independently confirm that, but we've spoken with quite a number of parents who have talked about the trauma that families have experienced as a result of this mistake.
Thank you very much. Well, it is true that in circumstances like this, candidates who sat for the examination in question will face all kinds of psychological problems. Again, tests world over are associated with what we call test anxiety. And this can be pre or during or post the test in question. I don't think that what has happened is unusual. There have been instances where examinations or tests went awry, and then the examination body, canceled those examinations and then decided to re-examine the candidates in question because of issues of credibility, issues of validity and reliability of the assessment results. What JAMB has done in this case is to first and foremost say, well, good. We agree with the public sentiment that something might be wrong with this examination. Let us prepone our review process, bring it forward to respond to this public outcry. Let us try to locate what actually went wrong. And then indeed, JAMB did excellently well with the review committee in locating where the problem was. And then when you look at the data or the figures with respect to the affected centers, we are talking about 169 centers out of 882 centers, which is about 19%. I'm talking about the scope of what happened. And then when you look at the candidates affected, 336,574 candidates out of 2,030,378 candidates that sat for the exam in the two regions. And this represents only about 16.58% of the candidates affected. So I agree with the fact that even if it was 1 or 2 or 20 or 1% or 2% of candidates that had to go through these psychological problems because of this error that was committed, not by JAMB per se, but by the vendor, the technology vendor, that's the service provider. You will see that it is not of such a scope, that will generate this kind of reactions, extreme reactions.
I understand your point clearly, Professor. The mistake you said is not from JAMB, but I want to believe that JAMB supervises the agencies it works with, and it has the responsibility to also oversee what they do, right? And that's why, yes, I just wanted to make a point that was why the JAMB registrar actually took responsibility for what happened. So we can't possibly go back on that.
He could take responsibility for that. He should take responsibility. But the point is that let's look at this example. Now, you leave the house in the morning. You give instruction to your child. Sweep the room, boil water, boil some rice, which we are going to eat. When we come back, you have left that instruction. And then you hope that your child, would carry out those instructions diligently. In the process of boiling the yam, something happens.
All right.
Maybe the young lad pours hot water on his body or himself or something like that. Yes, you will take responsibility because you asked him to undertake that task. But as a matter of fact, the pouring of the hot water on the young man was not your own doing.
I get your point, Prof.
This was exactly what happened.
Let me bring the lawyer into the conversation. I want to hear how you react to Professor's point of view, and also react to the fact that now the affected students have to get back to writing these exams between Friday and Monday. Do you think that's enough time for them to prepare?
Well, first, I don't think the students that are judged to be affected, I don't think they are the only ones affected. I actually think that the entire exam needs to be set aside because it is very clear that protocols were not followed. The glitch, I think, in my estimation, went far and above the number they have stated. So this is no longer justice. So in the interest of justice and fairness, because I know people who are still complaining, who are still in the brackets that JAMB said they were not affected, who are still complaining. So the best thing that they would have done, in the interest of justice, is to set aside the entire exam and conduct another one, and take their time out to make sure that this is well coordinated. Apart from the technical glitch which they are talking about, there were other glitches that has to do with logistics, that have to do with the timing, and so many other things, which cumulatively affected the outcome. So it is not only what JAMB is saying that affected the outcome. There are other things which I have listed in the aforementioned that caused this whole problem. And we have to do it holistically and do it once and for all. Because even after they finish writing this one, there will still be public outcry, okay, of people who are affected, okay? The case of the young boy who scored over 200 plus last year and wrote this year had 155. I had a friend who didn't go for the exam at all because he was ill, but had results. So what do you say about that one too?
Okay.
So, I mean, this is not to vilify JAMB or to cast aspersion at anyone. Okay, I wrote JAMB so many years ago. Okay, it is not to cast aspersion at anyone. It's to say that the Nigerian child have a right to education, and that right must be preserved. Okay, these are the future of tomorrow, and we must do all in our capacity to ensure that they get the best of us. And that's exactly what we're saying. If there were no public outcry, JAMB will not come out to say anything happened. In fact, when the news first broke out, the DG is on record, didn't admit there was any error. He didn't admit that. It was after the public outcry and the complaints that he decided to look back and check. Possibly something may have happened. So let us not act like we don't know the right thing to do. Set aside the entire exam. It's soiled already. It's spoiled already. You cannot take a poisonous leaf to a purification feast. It won't work. So let's set it aside and have another examination wherein we'll be able to assess and say that this result is truly the outcome of the exam as it should be.
Prof, we have just two more.
We
have just about 2 more minutes to go. I know you completely disagree with his position, but there are questions about what immediate steps we must take right now moving forward. Some have said, I've read comments like, we're not even ripe for a computer-based test. Maybe we should return to writing exams on paper.
Now, quickly, let me say this, that the review process was very thorough. I was part of it. And then I can assure all Nigerians that the identified centers where this glitch took place were the only centers where this problem occurred. And then in all the centers, both in the LAG and CAD sectors, where there were no problems, if you look at the score profile, you will definitely see the contrast between where the problem occurred and where the problem did not occur. And it will not be wise to throw away, good exams that have taken place in those other centers where this glitch, because there were, problems in some of the centers.
I hear you clearly, Prof.
And then the second,
yes,
the normal protocol for handling issues arising from delays and timing and then all that.
All right.
JAMB is also going to do that. What JAMB does is to reschedule the genuine cases, of candidates who were affected by all kinds of technical
Professor Nwogu, we have completely run out of time. We're probably going to continue this conversation subsequently, but it's a good place to leave it. Professor Boniface Nwogu, Mr. Ivan Sofili, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the program this evening. What way forward for JAMB, and what is the lot and what is the future like for this almost 400,000 students who have been affected? Well, we're tracking that story beyond the headlines, and we'll be back tomorrow with more. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. See you again soon.